Question, are you too fat to fly? Well, it depends which airline you fly on. One airline has just announced they are to start weighing passengers along with their luggage before they are allowed to board the plane. This is Finnish carrier Finnair, who told the media that they plan to begin measuring passengers departing from Helsinki from next Monday. They say it's a better way of estimating the plane's weight before takeoff. So far, more than 500 volunteer customers have participated in the weigh-ins. They noted, though, that they help their users to work out the weight of the plane, its interiors and passengers, and it makes for a safer transit. Well, would you be willing to be weighed along with your baggage? Joining us in the studio now, we've obviously still got Philip Ingram, but social commentator Ryan-Mark Parsons, he also joins us as well. You remember him, of course, from The Apprentice days. You just reminded me, I interviewed you, you'd just been sacked. I know. You've been fired by the peer. Now, his brain, it's terrible, his name went for a moment. Right, do you agree with this? Is an airline right? I mean, I'm not sure they're necessarily forcing people, so people could refuse, but I'm guessing the people who are going to refuse are the very people you need to weigh.
Well, that's it, yes. So at the moment, it's on a voluntary basis. But in Korea, actually, in August last year, they've been enforcing weigh-ins in domestic flights. So we're already seeing airlines operating this kind of policy. And I think it's a great idea. I've had terrible situations where I was flying to New York, 7-hour flight.
Yeah, long flight.
Yeah, it's a long flight. And I was sat next to this very large, obese person, and it just ruins the whole flight experience.
Were they kind of sitting over you? Were they sort of over? No, it's when the thighs touch that bothers me.
Well, it's when
someone else's warm thigh you don't know on a 7-hour flight.
It's when it's spilling over. Like, I have no issue if you're not touching me, fine. But when they started to touch me, and obviously when you're larger, you smell because of the sweat. Typically,
you don't necessarily smell if you're larger.
This person did smell, and
I've met plenty of smelly thin people.
And it was just a nightmare. I couldn't move. There was no space to go elsewhere, so I just had to sit there for the whole time.
Did you contact the cabin crew? Did you say, is there any chance I'm not getting my full seat allowance, effectively? Because my thing is, I paid for my seat allowance. Yeah. That's what I paid for. This is mine. I've got very long legs. I've got 34 inside leg, OK? So I need all of my seat allowance. So often if you've got, like, especially guys who are just sitting there with the wide legs, I'm just sort of shove over, I need my seat allowance.
Well, that's what I said. I went to the loo and I said, could I please move? But they just said no. They just said no, so I just had to deal with it.
Philip Ingram, have you had this issue? You're I would say large chap, but I mean, I mean tall, you're not, you know.
No, I'm larger, and I've got larger over the years. I've had the issue with cabin crew from a US airline where the cabin crew were too big to properly fit down the aisle, and I was sleeping in an aisle seat, again going across the States, and every time the stewardess it was at the time walked past me, she brushed my shoulder
maybe she was trying to keep you awake. Who knows? But this is the thing. Like, a lot of people object to the fact if you go and do I mean, I do a lot of flights. Going off on one on Sunday. I'll see you in a week. But and you are. I mean, 0.1 of a kilogram over on your allowance. Oh no, you're going to have to be charged an extra 50 quid. No, you can't bring it on board. That cabin bag's not coming on board. You're going to have to ditch stuff. I mean, the amount of times I've been putting clothes on out of the cabin baggage just to sort of get on the plane. But someone could be, 25 stone, and that's not queried. So I suppose the idea here is, like, to a certain extent, should your baggage allowance be along with your weight? But then that's not fair on tall people. We weigh more.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, like you said, they're so anal on those restrictions, but they don't seem to care if you're 25 stone. So I think there should
Maybe they're not legally allowed to.
I think there should be a fat tax, and I think actually...
Oh, hello, we got straight in there.
And I think there should be a requirement, if you are over a certain weight, to buy 2 seats, because then you have the room.
But there's not. But often they buy 2 seats, but they're not given 2 seats together, so someone still has to sit next to them.
Well, they have to sort the logistics out, where they need to have 2 seats next to each other, where you have ample room, where you're not touching the passenger next to you, and then you pay for being overweight. And I think it's a great incentive. 26% of people in the UK are obese. What a great incentive to enforce this.
I have to say, when I've been sort of heavier, post-pregnancy or other issues, you could be a lot of us in middle age. You might go up and go down a little bit at a time. For me, I remember sitting in an airline seat. It was a very small flight, and it was very uncomfortable. It was quite tight. And I remember thinking, not, oh, this is outrageous, these seats aren't big enough, or I just thought, I should probably lose some weight. And that was a very good incentive to me. When I see people say, if you can't go through the turnstiles at a train station, your response shouldn't be, these turnstiles, it should be, I should probably lose weight. I'm probably not a healthy weight. That would be a more sensible way for people to look at it. Do we pander too much to obesity these days, Philip? Because, I mean, I don't want people being shouted at or abused. You know, people have a right to do what they want with their bodies, in my view. But when it does impose on other people, do we not also have a right to say something?
I think we accept it, but I think that this rule by Finnair is for safety reasons and for environmental reasons, because pilots calculate the amount of fuel that they're going to have in their aircraft, and therefore the range and their emergency diverts on the weighing of all the baggage that goes in. So they know that, but actually the greater variability because of the obesity, the differences that there are in society are amongst the passengers.
So this is about keeping us all safe.
Correct.
It's about keeping everyone safe. And yeah, as Philip was saying, comfortability, keeping everyone safe, but also these budget airlines like Finnair, they're operating on very tight margins. So if they can make calculations based on the weight of the plane, which includes the passengers, and how much fuel they could save, from a commercial point of view, it's a really good suggestion as well from them.
I think it works on boats. But I was on a boat once, a very tiny little boat, really little narrow canoe thing. And we had quite a few people, and these people, two husband and wife, absolutely huge. They'd been placed on different sides. And at one point, the man got up to talk to his wife, and genuinely, the person at the front of the boat was like, no, no. I mean, we were all thinking, and there were crocodiles. We're going in. Sit the hell down, sir. Yeah. You are way too big to be moving. Anyway, Ryan-Mark, it's been a pleasure having you company. Ryan-Mark Parsons, great having you join us all today. Thank you, Philip Ingram.
Thank you.
As I just mentioned, I am off on one of those flights. Hopefully they won't do a weigh-in. I'm off to the slopes. Who knows? Just falling down a mountain. It's not as much fun as you think.